It's not home ec. It's not a sweatshop. And I can tell you, they aren't making trendy clothes. This is Boston University's costume shop, and it's not just a scissors and thread kind of place. These students work on both costume design and production to create pieces for BU's stage productions.
You have to think about not only the production design, but how you make a unified look on stage. And under that, you have to think about each individual character. So each individual character has to work within this umbrella of the production design concept and creating this look on stage.
Yeah, it's really. You don't want to attach.
Theater traces its roots far into history, but mostly to the 5th century BC, when Thespis was the first actor to actually speak on stage alone. Previously, it was a chorus whose purpose was to convey an idea or specific emotion about the story. So men and women wore similar garments of bright, draped fabrics and emotion-specific masks. During Shakespeare's prime, it was more of a visual spectacle, and costumes were as elaborate as possible. The hodgepodge of styles was arbitrary to the purpose of the play. Since the Elizabethan era, the theater moved towards historical accuracy. Now, just as much time goes into character study as costume study.
For instance, if you're doing something from the 18th century, it will be the character in the 18th century costume, but it's their interpretation, their final interpretation, within that kind of umbrella of the design team concept. So they look at other things from that period. They look at how the style lines are on the body, because they're different for every single decade and every single period, every single century. Think about how that goes together, the construction of it, and whether it's more historically based or contemporary.
And trying to fit the mock-up and see how it was going to work.
The designer and costumer work in tandem to translate 2D sketches into 3D wearable pieces. And even with this collaboration, what one person sees is not always the same as the other.
I still have people swatching for fabrics. You know, when you look at a colored sketch and you say, what do you think this fabric is? And I say one thing, and somebody else looks at the same sketch and sees something completely different. And that's a question of translation and working with a designer.
These outfits aren't meant for the daily fluorescent grind of the workplace. They spend their days hidden away on costume racks and only come out to play when the house lights go down and the catwalk spotlights come up. Costumers must be aware of so many more elements than just historical accuracy.
Colors, location, are you outside or inside? Is it nighttime or morning? It's, you know, that's all kind of a piece with the stage direction, what the performer's doing and how they're interacting, whether you're going for what the person would really have worn or whether it's a stylized look. That's all sort of part of the conceptual beginnings of it.
A lot of it has to do with the actor becoming someone else, like putting on this garment and feeling like their character.
Things that I like to think about movement. I like to think about experiences that character had that would explain a certain thing they did, like how they would put their hands into their pockets, or, you know, it has to do with personality and thinking about the reasons why people do things. Costume is a great character study, almost as much as acting.
Night after night, the pieces must look wearable and beautiful on the outside, but have a foundation and structure underneath for lasting durability. Quality construction and engineering of a costume piece are crucial to combat the wear and tear of the stage.
There are a lot of things that you do to a costume that you don't do to real clothes, such as you either make it so it can be ripped off in a second, or you make it so it can be put on in a second. You make it so it can be worn 100 times on stage and, you know, not fall apart. You try and make it durable enough that it will last for a performer who's going to be kneeling on the floor in it, or, you know, is going to move in some way where the designer wants it to look like one thing that never ever changes.
Especially for like a show like this, it's a period piece. I mean, the corset has been like a lot, you know, I mean, it affects your breathing and how you move. I think depending on the costume, really, it does really influence just like on your outlook on the character.
If all the world's a stage, then fashion designers are the costumers of modern day reality, right? Well, not if any of these professionals have anything to say about it.
Well, you're working off of a sketch from someone's interpretation of a play, and that in itself is different from clothing, and it's not mass produced. Like, we're building one-of-a-kind garments for specific people.
You work on a show, it comes together, and then it's done. It opens, it closes, it's gone. It's not like you're looking at something and you're trying to figure out how to market it next year and then do it again the following year with a slight change of style lines or something.
Fashion design is really a point of view, and usually an individual point of view.
It's like, it's a unique project. You're making one thing, you're trying to work with a person who's going to wear it and embody a character. There are a lot more elements to it than there are to, I think, to fashion design.
The design and production of costuming starts at the beginning, even before the actors come into play. Countless hours are spent hunched over fabric, thread, and scissors. All this in an effort to create the piece in the designer's head, match the stage designer's scenery, meet the actor's needs, and durably make it through several rehearsals and performances.
It's great when you start seeing them like evolve, and like their first ideas were something that were completely different. Like every time I went, I was like, oh, I'm going to be wearing this now. So yeah.
What we create and make it look like his or her design, I'm trying to make the person who's paying for it happy by making it happen within a limited, always limited amount of money. And I'm trying to make the person who's wearing it comfortable, secure, and usually happy. But it's my job to make sure they feel like they can move and do everything they need to do on stage, and that they're confident that what they've got on is, you know, a quality piece of goods.
Although the costumers will remain behind the scenes, their pieces will get to see center stage when the curtain goes up. For BUTV, I'm Andrea Peterson.